worth your life. Use your head or get it knocked.
Woo! Good morning, Man Hour Nation. It is time to overreact here on this Overreaction Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. The Steelers can clinch a playoff spot. Is Mike Tomlin the greatest coach ever? Ever, I say. Buffalo Bills, they have a shot at the playoffs, but what if they don't? Sean McDermott out? Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. It's got to make sense, right? The CMC got injured? Oh, shit. But first. And now, Mike's thoughts. Coach John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens have yet to make a decision on whether Lamar Jackson will be playing Week 18 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers or not yet. He said, and I quote, "We have to worry about injuries before we get to that point in our week." I get it, right? You don't want to overreact to anything. You just want to slow it down, baby. But listen here, John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens fans. If Lamar Jackson plays Week 18 and something were to happen, sprained ankle, strained hammy, something obviously not like serious, but like something that's going to hamper his play, and it affects him in 2 weeks down the road when they play their divisional game versus the Browns or the Steelers or like whoever they play, right? John Harbaugh is going to get ran out of town. John Harbaugh has to understand this. If the starters play, if Lamar Jackson plays, MVP Lamar Jackson himself, if he plays, right, and then he gets injured, their season's done. Their season's over. Wrap it up, baby. But their season might be over, but John Harbaugh's career in Baltimore might be over. Guys, tell me that I'm wrong. Please tell me that I'm wrong. Please tell me that I'm wrong, that John Harbaugh is legitimately thinking that he could play Lamar Jackson. Come on, man. Come on, man. You're better than that. Right? 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 Cue that intro. Are you ready for the best damn NFL show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckhashi here with the Man Hour. Return to manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page, or check out the blog section. All as well. Good stuff happening over there at manhourradio.com, and it would be most inclined. It would be very important if you guys just come over there and check it out. You know, if you hate it, you hate it. Jump in the inbox, tell me that you hate it. Join the 20 or 30 other people that have been in my inbox the last 2 days. It doesn't bother me. What you guys don't understand is, like, I have some very, very thick skin. You can say whatever you want about me. I'm going to clap back. But don't get butthurt when I clap back. You're like, oh, I'm going to block it. It is what it is. It is what it is. But we do got some people in the chat already this morning, already chiming in. We got my man John Peoples over there on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Man Hour. Says, good morning, man. Good morning to you, John. Hope you're having a grand old day, my John. And John says, Harbaugh is a proven winner in Baltimore. He stays. No matter what happens, John says, if he plays Lamar Jackson Week 18 and he gets injured in their first round exit, it doesn't matter. John Harbaugh's staying. And John, I have to kind of disagree with you. I mean, our Ravens fan would probably say it the best, but I kind of feel like the Baltimore Ravens have been kind of wanting John Harbaugh out for a couple of seasons, right? They've been kind of pointing the blame on the offensive coordinator, right? They changed the offensive coordinator, but I think Harbaugh obviously is pretty secure there, right? But if something drastic happens like that, I think you got to talk about it. And then John also says Harbaugh stays in Michigan due to the fluke last night. We'll be talking about that. We will be talking about that. John also says his second string guy, as in Tyler Huntley, is that his first name? Huntley, will get the job done. It doesn't matter. He's getting the job done, he says. We'll see. But guys, it is Tuesday and it is time to overreact. It is time to overreact. We have 4 or 5 things we're going to talk about. If you guys want to overreact something in the chat, let me know. We can talk about it. We have time to talk about things today. If you guys want to talk about it, let's talk about it. This is a live interactive show, and we are live every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. East Coast time. And if you're going to miss any part of the show whatsoever, you can find us on iTunes and, of course, Spotify. And we do upload clips from the show each and every day. Every hour and a half, there is a clip going up on the YouTube page, on the Facebook page, on the TikTok page, on the IG, on the Kick, or whatever you cool kids are watching nowadays. We have like 5 platforms that stuff is uploading every hour and a half up there. Of course, we got XD Gamer in the chat as well. He says, how is everybody doing today, XD Gamer? We're doing great, man. It is great. It is Tuesday. It is time to get back into the daily grind of work and all the schedule stuff, but it is what it is. But let's talk about those Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin locked up yet another winning season in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in Pittsburgh. Can you guys wrap your heads like around that? The whole 10-year Mike Tomlin has been in a Pittsburgh Steelers head coaching role. He has never had a losing season. Wow, right? But right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers can still make the AFC playoffs. They can still make the playoffs. They can win, or this is how they can make the playoffs, right? They have to win, the Buffalo Bills have to lose, or the Jacksonville Jaguars have to lose. One of those, 2 of those 3 things have to happen, and bada bing, bada boom, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the playoffs. I can see the Buffalo Bills losing, and I think they're going to beat the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're going to get into the playoffs. So with that being said, this is hypothetically speaking, they make it into the playoffs. They beat the Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills lose to the Miami Dolphins on Sunday afternoon, right? Hypothetically speaking. But would it be an overreaction that if the Pittsburgh Steelers make it into the playoffs, they're going to make a deep playoff run? It seems like every year, guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers are there, right? They are there either in the playoffs or they're just right there. We can get it, right? But it seems in a very, very long time that they just haven't had the, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it killer instinct to really prevail in the playoffs, to really get those wins? But like, it seems like year after year after year, they're in the playoffs, but they can never really win anything. They never make any noise, right? So would it be an overreaction or a underreaction if the Pittsburgh Steelers make the playoffs that they can make a deep playoff run? Guys, this is an overreaction. This is an overreaction. Why? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin remind me so much of, is it Marvin Lewis and the Cincinnati Bengals in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? Marvin Lewis and the Bengals were just good enough to not get fired. They were just good enough not to get a first overall pick, but they're just bad enough to never make it deep into the playoffs. And it seems like that's where the Pittsburgh Steelers are at right now. They are just good enough to have winning records. They are just good enough to never have a losing second season with Mike Tomlin. But they're just good enough to not ever get that top overall pick. They are not good enough to really make noise in the draft. But they're just bad enough to, they can't make any noise in the playoffs either. Guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers need a complete shakeup, honestly. I understand people are saying Kenny Pickett isn't the man, and if I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Mason Rudolph has been named starter this week for the Ravens, and Mason Rudolph, we touch, lead us to the playoffs, right, man? But the Pittsburgh Steelers have never really had that killer instinct in a very, very long time. Now, this is me as an outsider speaking in, trying to speak on the Pittsburgh Steelers organization type of things. And so this is just a outsider's perspective, but I feel like they're just good enough to not get fired, but they're not good enough to really be dangerous, make a threat, whatever, right? It's almost as if the Pittsburgh Steelers need a complete retool, right? They need to go to Lowe's. They need to get the Craftsman toolbox, throw that out. Give me that Snap-on toolbox, right? Let's upgrade a little bit, but right? It is what it is. XD Gamer says, yeah, the Steelers have another winning season, and exactly right. John thinks Russell Wilson is going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We can totally talk about that if you want. But he says this is a total overreaction. It's a total overreaction. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a one and done. And that's what XD Gamer says. He says, Buck, they'll get eliminated in the first round. If the Pittsburgh Steelers make it into the playoffs, they would probably be, I think it's a 7 seed that they would be locked into, right? And so that means they would be playing a team like the Miami Dolphins. And I don't think that the Miami Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers match up very well. Pittsburgh Steelers have a good defense, but that's about it. Offense is lackluster. They don't want to block for each other. They just want to get the ball and get the ladies, right? My man Wayne G is in the house. He says it's a huge overreaction. If they crawl in, they will be swiftly kicked out. They said, you can come on in, but we're going to check that ID. We're going to escort you right back out. Get out of town, says Wayne G. He says their quarterback situation is crap. What is crap about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation? Do we not trust Kenny Pickett, or do we not trust the offensive play calling, the offensive scheme? Do we not trust Mitchell Trubisky, or is it the offensive scheme? What about the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh don't we like, Wayne G? Because I know Hoffy, my man Hoffy, hates him some Kenny Pickett, and I don't know why. I mean, obviously he's like 5'9" with like 2-inch hands, like we get it, right? But I thought Kenny Pickett was a good, gritty guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers realm. So let me ask you guys this. What is more concerning in Pittsburgh? Is it the quarterback situation, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, etc., or is it the offensive system that they have, right? Like there was at one point in the season, obviously they have fired Matt Canada 6-7 weeks ago, and 2 weeks later they finally broke 400 yards in offense for the first time, like 53 games. So what exactly is it, right? John says it's the winning mentality in Pittsburgh. Is the winning mentality gone in Pittsburgh? Is that swagger gone in Pittsburgh? It is. It is. And then John comes out with probably the comment of the day here so far. The whole division is weak compared to the rest of the league with Marvin Lewis. Let's try to think back of when Marvin Lewis was the Cincinnati Bengals head coach. I believe Bill Cowher was still with the Pittsburgh Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. I think Mike Tomlin maybe came in at the very tail end of it. The Browns were a complete dumpster fire, right? Quarterback going. We talk about the Browns going through 4 quarterbacks this season. They were going through 4 quarterbacks every other week. It seemed like trying to find the guy. And then the Baltimore Ravens, they were coming off of a Super Bowl in 2000, so they were maybe on the downside a little bit, maybe a plateau. I wouldn't say it was weak. It was just not as good as it could be. XT Gamer says, it will remind me of the 42-21 Steelers-Chiefs wildcard game last season. Let's hope not. And then John says the Dolphins would win that game 63-3. Caroline's back in the chat. Caroline, thank you for joining us for 2 days in a row. I'm very, very honored you can join us back-to-back days. I'm glad you were enjoying the show. But she says, I think the Steelers could make it through one round of the playoffs. So she thinks that the Pittsburgh Steelers can sneak in as a 7th seed. And if that were to happen, the Miami Dolphins would be the number 2 seed. And she thinks that they could beat the Miami Dolphins. Listen, it's a very good possibility. I believe it was it Jameson yesterday said that the Miami Dolphins could very well be a one and done. Injuries are starting to pile up for the Miami Dolphins. Yes, you are correct, guys. Bradley Chubb has officially been ruled out for the season with that torn ACL. Waddle missed last week's game. Tyreek Hill does have that ankle injury that he's, it seems like he's day-to-day still, like for the last 2 weeks, but a sprained ankle takes forever to heal. And it seems like every other week that rookie running back Acne, is it Acne or Acne? I can't remember. But it seems like he gets banged up, right? Like at this point of the year, guys, it is all about war of attrition. It is all about how did you manage the game up until this point, right? Are you clicking? Are you healthy? It is what it is. John says no. Kenny Pickett has to go in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett has to get out of town. Bring in Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray to Pittsburgh. I do think Kyler Murray's days are numbered in Arizona. He's been playing for a contract, I do believe. I don't think Russell Wilson is going anywhere in Bronco land. He has said it himself that he wants to stay in Denver. And let's just be honest. If he does get cut by the Denver Broncos, he's going to have 38 million reasons not to play in another NFL snap. So I don't think Russell Wilson goes anywhere. But I could see Kyler Murray making a move. But I feel that the Pittsburgh Steelers were to make a quarterback change, there would also be a coaching change. So with that being said, they would hire their coach, hire a new GM more than likely, and then get their quarterback through the draft. Build together, right? That has kind of been the MO of the NFL the last couple seasons. Get a new head coach, draft a quarterback. We'll see what happens, right? Houston Texans have had great success with CJ Stroud and DeMarco Ryans, right? Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury had a little bit of success, but then they fell off. It's just I feel like if the Pittsburgh Steelers do make a quarterback change, Mike Tomlin is going to walk away as well. Caroline does say Kenny is not that bad at all, guys. Slow it down, baby. Slow it down. Kenny Pickett's not that bad. So it's got to be the offensive coordinator, right? Wayne G is in the chat again. He says 3 quarterbacks combined for 62% completion, 12 passing touchdowns. There's no talent at that position. This just came to my head, Wayne G. If the Pittsburgh Steelers have had 12 passing touchdowns all season long, 37-year-old Joe Flacco has 13 touchdowns in the month of December. Oh, man, right? Damn. That's tough, baby. Arthur Brown's in the chat. Cancel that Amber Alert. My man's back in here after that fresh ass kicking he took the other day. Sorry, Arthur Brown. Had to bring it up, man. But he says, I would rather see the Steelers in the playoffs than Buffalo. Buffalo is the most dangerous team looking in. You are correct, Arthur Brown. If I was a Miami Dolphins fan, and I'm going to be rooting for the Miami Dolphins this weekend, because as a Chiefs fan, I don't want to play the Buffalo Bills either. But with that being said, if the Miami Dolphins were to lose this week to the Buffalo Bills, they would drop down to a 5 seed. And then at that particular point, they would be playing the winner of the AFC South, which I think will ultimately end up being the Indianapolis Colts. So would it be a blessing in disguise if you got away from the Buffalo Bills per se, right? Make the Buffalo Bills play a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Pittsburgh Steelers, which the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't be able to. The Pittsburgh Steelers could be in like at that particular point, right? I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers match up better versus the Buffalo Bills than they would against the Miami Dolphins. So depending on how you want to look at things, if you want to be devil's advocate, maybe Miami Dolphins tanks this game. Maybe the Miami Dolphins let the Buffalo Bills win the AFC East. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but let's just be devil's advocate. Let's just say we are playing Madden. And as the Miami Dolphins, I dropped down to the 5 seed, and now I'm playing the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts? The Colts? Whoop that ass. And then, guess what? Then the next round, you are playing the number 1 team in the Baltimore Ravens. Get that revenge, baby. Get that revenge. I don't know. Either way, the AFC playoffs is going to be a gauntlet for whatever team you are. It doesn't matter. XE Gamer says, Buck, here's the thing. The AFC isn't that great. So I could see it happening, but I guess it won't. I'm not for sure what you're talking about seeing happening, but I think the AFC is great. I think every team going into the playoffs, besides the 7th seed, can legitimately win a Super Bowl. 1 through 6 in the AFC, anybody can win that Super Bowl. The Ravens, the Dolphins, you can put the Jaguars in there if they win the South. You can put the Chiefs in there. Buffalo Bills, if they make it, slide up into that 5th seed or 6th seed. The Cleveland Browns, we keep forgetting about the Cleveland Browns are in there. They locked it up 2 weeks ago. I think the AFC is more loaded than the NFC, to be honest. Mike Tomlin is a proven winner. He is a proven winner. He has also proven to be mediocre year after year after year. He has proven to be, hey, 8 wins is just good enough to keep my job. 9 wins is just good enough to keep my job. Penix is the best quarterback in the draft. I would have to confer with that. When I saw Michael Penix Jr. up close and personal at Indiana, we had a couple kids 3 years ago getting recruited to Indiana to play some O-line. They had the opportunity to speak with Michael Penix Jr. He's a class act. He's a hell of an athlete, but he is injury prone. So John says the Bills will self-destruct like they always do. And then he wants to come out and said, KC is a dead team floating. Kansas City is the most dangerous team in the AFC playoffs, John. The Kansas City Chiefs are a team that you do not want to play in the AFC playoffs. Yes, you do have the Baltimore Ravens. You do have the Buffalo Bills if they make it. But this is what's so dangerous about the Kansas City Chiefs. They've been mediocre for the last 2 months. You don't know who their number 1 receiver is. You don't know when Travis Kelce is going to bust out and be the old Travis Kelce. You don't know when Isaiah Pacheco is going to lower his head and run your ass over. Slow it down, baby. The Kansas City Chiefs are not a dead team floating. You better hope they are. You better hope they are as a Miami fan. You better hope they are as a Buffalo Bills fan. You better hope they are as a Jaguars fan. You don't want this smoke, baby. Oh, here we go. Especially the arrow man to the 13th man. All right. Refs. Jesus. Let me ask you this question. This is a question for all you, the Cowboys cheated, the refs are cheaters, the Chiefs are cheaters people out there. Let me ask you this question. If a referee makes a bad call, The number 7 reported eligible, holding on number 87, whatever. Say they make a bad call, whether it's for your team or against your team. How does that make that team cheaters? How does it make that team a cheater? I'm asking for a friend right now. I'm asking for the 20 inboxes that I have waiting for me to answer. How does that make the Cowboys cheaters? How does that make the Kansas City Chiefs cheaters? It doesn't. Caroline says the Buffalo Bills ain't making it. I don't think they're going to make it into the playoffs. If they do, like I said, they're not going to go too far. But I don't want them to go to the playoffs. Listen, the Buffalo Bills basically have to win this weekend for the Miami Dolphins to make it into the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills have to basically beat the Miami Dolphins and hope that the Jaguars win and hope that the Titans lose and hope that the Texans and Colts don't end in a tie. If those things happen, the Buffalo Bills can make the playoffs. Do I see all those things happening? No. So they have to win this weekend versus the Miami Dolphins to make the playoffs. So that brings us up to our next overreaction on this Overreaction Tuesday. The Buffalo Bills still do have a shot of winning the AFC East. They beat the Miami Dolphins. Both of the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs, and the Buffalo Bills secure the East. I think it's for the 4th or 5th straight year in a row. But let me ask you guys this question. Let's be devil's advocate here again on this Overreaction Tuesday. If the Buffalo Bills do not make the playoffs this season, then Sean McDermott gets fired from the Buffalo Bills. Is that an overreaction or an underreaction? So, guys, like I said, for the Buffalo Bills to miss the playoffs this season, they, for one, have to lose versus the Miami Dolphins. The Steelers have to win, the Titans have to win, and the Texans and Colts cannot end in a tie. 2 of those 4 things that happen, well, they have to lose, and then one of those other 3 things happens, the Buffalo Bills are out of the playoffs. Their historic 6-win game turnaround of the century is going to be all for nothing because they're going to miss the playoffs anyways. So all you people saying, oh, this video didn't age well, I'm going to come back out there and I'm going to clap back and be like, I told you so. We're talking about a video back in October when I said the Buffalo Bills were bad, but we digress from that. Guys, if the Buffalo Bills miss the playoffs this season, there is going to be, actually, let's take it one step further. Let's say the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs. They beat the Miami Dolphins. They are the 2nd seed. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 1st round. They lose that game. If that happens, Sean McDermott is out of town. Stephon Diggs is probably out of town, right? There's going to be some major shakeup happening in Buffalo land, in Buffalo, New York, in Bills Mafia, if the Buffalo Bills do not make a deep playoff run. Simple as that. If they do not make a deep playoff run, Sean McDermott's gone. Stephon Diggs is gone. There's going to be a major shakeup. Von Miller's probably in jail for beating his pregnant wife. So, guys, this is not an overreaction. If the Buffalo Bills don't make a deep playoff run, Sean McDermott's tenure is done. Stephon Diggs' tenure is probably done as well. Let me know in the comments, guys. What do you guys think? If the Buffalo Bills do not make a deep playoff run, meaning they have to win their 1st round game and then be competitive in the divisional round to whoever they play, whether it's the Chiefs or the Jaguars or the Miami Dolphins, they have to be competitive. Is Sean McDermott gone? Caroline says they need to start throwing the ball more to Travis, but they need to start using Travis more to do the Chiefs. We'll talk about the Chiefs more later. Refs chuck, period, yada, yada, yada. John says the Texans will beat the Colts. We'll be talking about that tomorrow or Thursday, whatever day I decide to do it. Like I said, 4 back-to-back Super Bowl losses, 2 for the Buffalo Bills. And then Caroline says it's an underreaction. I think because they should get rid of him and get somebody new anyhow. So Caroline agrees with me. She thinks if the Buffalo Bills don't make the playoffs or lose in the first round, Sean McDermott's out of town. Guys, I feel like kind of since the infamous 13 seconds with the Kansas City Chiefs, was that 3 years ago now? It seems like forever ago, that Sean McDermott's kind of been on the hot seat. Stephon Diggs has kind of been at this simmering, boiling pot of water, right? Playoffs lose, it gets turned up a little bit. He starts to boil, starts to go over the top a little bit, but then they put the lid on it. They win some games. They calm down. Everything goes back to normal. He takes the lid off and starts to simmer again, starts to boil again. I think this is the year this is the year that the bubbles are at the bottom, just starting to roar, right? Starting to do that spinning, right? And if they lose first round, miss the playoffs, there is going to be no turning back at that point. It doesn't matter how much you try to put the lid on, turn the heat down, whatever. The boil has started and is going to erupt at some point. Jim Powell says only if Mark Levy is still available. Who is Mark Levy? I don't know who Mark Levy is. Is he the new? No, Joe Brady's the new offensive coordinator. Who is Mark Levy, Jim? Marv Levy. I don't know who Marv Levy is. Is Marv the guy from Home Alone? I don't know who Marv Levy is, right? And typical Bills management is half-assed. So then Jim asks the question, is Josh Allen the guy? Or is Josh Allen another Pickett in Pittsburgh? Josh Allen is a very, very good quarterback. I believe in the YouTube comments, somebody said Josh Allen is just a drunken uncle at a birthday party and he shows out when he wants to. True. But if I'm not mistaken, Josh Allen leads the NFL in quarterback or in touchdown passes and rushing touchdowns in the last 4 or 5 years, right? More than Lamar Jackson, more than Jalen Hurts, more than Dak Prescott, more than Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen scores the ball a lot. One of the fundamental flaws about the Buffalo Bills is they get really hot and then they're really bad. Their floor is so low that they're like a D+ team at best. But when they're good, they're an A+ team, Super Bowl caliber team. So I don't think Josh Allen goes anywhere. He just signed a pretty big deal a couple years ago, right? So they still have at least 3 or 4 years left on his deal. And getting a franchise quarterback nowadays is so hard, right? Just because coaching has been so overlooked, as when you draft a quarterback, you expect him to be NFL ready. That is why Zach Wilson has failed in the NFL. That is why other players, Kyler Murray has failed in the NFL. I mean, Kyler Murray really hasn't failed, but he's, you guys get what I'm saying. There is no development in the quarterback room anymore, right? You draft a guy, you expect Michael Penix Jr. to come in and be our guy. You expect Caleb Williams to come in and be our guy, right? You expect Mac Jones to come in and be our guy. The simple fact of the matter is they are not developing players like they used to. It was me, Suit Boss Combs, and Wayne G. We're all sitting here and had a big debate a couple years ago. Should quarterbacks sit the first year in the NFL? I said yes. I said 100% yes. And then Wayne G and Suit Boss threw out some stats saying that basically the quarterbacks have the same success rate whether they start year 1 or year 2. And then, of course, I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong, right? Flash forward a couple years, sitting back and thinking, growing as a person, growing as a podcaster, right? Like on these lives. If those quarterbacks that sat a year were developed properly, had a good coaching staff, had a coach like Eric Bieniemy and brought them up nice and slowly and understood the game, right? There would be a lot more Patrick Mahomeses in the world, right? Jordan Love, sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 4 years. Aaron Rodgers is basically, he's changed a lot since he left Green Bay. He wants to take people under his wing and grow them. I feel like him and Jordan kind of have this boom relationship, right? But Jordan Love was never developed, right? Josh Allen has come in and pretty much transcended the quarterback game, right? Big, strong quarterback with a strong arm with the ability to run as well. Josh Allen is a guy in Buffalo, and he's not going anywhere. And long story short, Josh Allen is not going anywhere. He forces the ball down in the red zone is his downfall. Yes. The lack of coaching is Josh Allen's downfall. Same thing about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is great between the 20 and 20. You get him in the red zone, he throws interceptions. Lack of coaching, lack of confidence. Get a good coach in there. Coach those guys up. Jim says Marv coaches for the Bills in the mid-'80s and late 90s. 4 Super Bowl levy. Don't remember. I do remember the 4 Super Bowls. I believe there's a show on, I think it's ESPN Plus, I think it is, where it's like the 4 Falls or something just like that. I did watch that last year. Maybe this year, I can't remember. But I didn't remember their coach, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. Speaking of coaches, Jim Harbaugh has been in the news. Jim Harbaugh won last night over the Crimson Tide. Down goes Alabama again. Michigan advances to their first ever college football championship game or playoff. No, sorry, I digress. It was their first ever college football win. But Jim Harbaugh has been linked to NFL head coaching jobs. Raiders, Chargers, possibly other opportunities out there. And usually where there's smoke, there is fire. Since this started to come out, Jim Harbaugh has hired an agent to speak to said teams, to speak to the Chargers, to speak to the Raiders. And it is Tom Brady's agent as well. It is what it is. But guys, let me ask you this question. Is it an overreaction or an underreaction that Jim Harbaugh to any team in the NFL instantly makes them a playoff team? Ooh, 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 ooh. When we hear this rumor, Jim Harbaugh to the NFL, I was like, there's no freaking way. My man Zen has never beaten Michigan. What is the cream of the crop in like Michigan is to beat Ohio State. If I remember correctly, has Jim Harbaugh ever lost to Ohio State? Maybe like, well, I mean, obviously he has, but he's won like 3 or 4 years in a row, right? Jim Harbaugh is the pinnacle of Michigan football right now. He has a blank check, and he can do whatever he wants, when he wants, how he wants. So when we hear the rumors, Jim Harbaugh to the NFL, basically I feel like it has to be a perfect situation. It has to be a situation where he gets to draft his quarterback. He gets to pick the GM. He gets to do things his way. He has to basically be there with a team that's kind of already structured with some pieces that just need to be put together. The borders out there, we have a little bit of piece over here. We got a little piece over there. We need to bring those all in together. That one piece, bada boom, the puzzle is complete, right? I think that's what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. So it is not an overreaction that any team that Jim Harbaugh goes to makes them a playoff caliber team. Because when we look at the Chargers, they are a playoff caliber team right now. They were in the playoffs last season. This year, obviously, injuries bit them in the ass again. That has been the Chargers' biggest downfall, is injury after injury after injury. Las Vegas Chargers, right? The Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. Say he goes there. The Raiders have completely turned their culture around in the last 6-7 weeks that AP has been their coach. You bring in Jim Harbaugh, I think that confidence, that swagger gets up a little bit higher. Guys, just 2 weeks ago, the Raiders were in the playoff hunt. Then I saw somebody bring up Chicago Bears. My man Fitz to the Bears. The Bears still have a playoff chance right now. And they get the first overall pick next year. Guys, it is not an overreaction. Any team that Jim Harbaugh goes to in the NFL is going to be a playoff team next season because he's got his picking what he wants to go to, right? He is not going to go to a situation in Carolina where they're 2-12. He is not going to go to a situation in New York where they got to deal with all these egos, aka Aaron Rodgers. He is not going to go to a situation in New England. Right? Why would you want to deal with that crap? Have a team that's already semi-built. You're 60 years old. You have, 10 years left of your coaching. Build a legacy. Everywhere Jim Harbaugh goes, he wins. Stanford, 49ers, Michigan, LA Chargers. It is what it is. Jim says it's an overreaction. It's an overreaction, he says. Jim Harbaugh is not the cream of the crop. I believe somewhere he said, it was a fluke. There it is. And then my man Fitz and Combs are Windy City Sports Talk. They talk about Chicago Bears, White Sox, Cubbies, Blackhawks, Bulls. If you like that kind of thing, if you like Chicago, or if you like to talk shit like I do, go over to their page, Windy City Sports Talk, guys. Check him out. But he said Jim Harbaugh to the Bears. Not going to happen, Fitzy. Not going to happen. I believe the Bears have already come out and said Eberflus is our guy in 2024. What else you want? They said it. Get that Jim Harbaugh crap out of here. But what if, right? What if the Bears were to bring in Jim Harbaugh? Let's start this conversation, Fitz. Let's say the Bears renege on their word. Eberflus is our guy. Get out of here, Eberflus. We have a chance to get Jim Harbaugh. Come on down 3 hours to Chicago, Jimmy. We'll get you a nice little penthouse mansion. We'll get you a dog. We'll get you a couple of caregivers. Right? Plus, he gets the first overall pick. What do you do with that first overall pick? Do you draft your Michigan quarterback? Do you trade it for a couple other picks? The 7th first-round pick and next year's first-round pick. What do you do with that pick? Do you trade away Justin Fields? This is a conversation for a whole show. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Jim Harbaugh to the Bears. Let me dig into some research, and let's say I am Jim Harbaugh and I go to the Chicago Bears. No, F it. We'll do it right here at the top. Jim Harbaugh goes to the Bears. Justin Fields is my quarterback right now. I have no receivers, guys, whatsoever. DJ Moore is my only guy. My defense is meh, right? And the only reason why we're like 6-10 right now is because of Justin Fields and his ability to scramble and be a good quarterback. What do you do with that first overall pick if I'm Jim Harbaugh and the coach of the Chicago Bears? Do I draft Marvin Harrison Jr., a Ohio State receiver? No. I hate Ohio State. It's still in my loins. Justin Fields was an Ohio State guy. Man, I hate him too. You know what happens? They trade away the first overall pick. They get 2 first-round picks, whatever, right? This year and next year. Maybe 3. I don't know what they got from Carolina last year, but let's say it's the same, right? And then they trade away Justin Fields. They pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. And they draft the quarterback from Michigan, get him a fat deal, and then I would walk away from the Chicago Bears as fast as I can and go back to Michigan. Nobody wants to coach at Chicago, Fitzy. Caroline says, how many Harbaugh coaches are there in football? I know it's off topic, but just curious. There are 2 Harbaughs. There's Jim and John. They were both quarterbacks in the NFL. I believe Jim Harbaugh was a Bears quarterback. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But John was the quarterback for the Seahawks. And so there's Jim and John. Jim is 60, and I don't know how old John is. He's probably like 65, 66. He seems a lot older than that. Jim says Ohio State beat him the first 6 times he was his first ever bowl win. 10 years, he's overrated. Caroline says, I hope that the Raiders keep Antonio Pierce. I don't. As a Chiefs fan, get Antonio Pierce out. Get him out. Bring in OJ Mayo. Bring in another Patriots coach. Something to give Antonio Pierce a chance to give him a season, and if he doesn't do good, then a full season, then get somebody new. But I think they got to do something with the Raiders. So Caroline thinks that Antonio Pierce is the coach of the future for the Las Vegas Raiders. And he has definitely put out a very good resume it's been 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Ever since Josh McDaniels has been fired, Antonio Pierce has definitely turned that team around. However, beating the Chiefs on Christmas Day was their Super Bowl. And that's been the downfall since. That's why they lost to the Colts. That's why they're going to lose this week to the, I think they play the Broncos, right? Antonio Pierce is a good motivator. He is a good leader of men, but I cannot speak on his X's and O's capabilities, right? It's kind of like when Jeff Saturday was hired as the Colts head coach. He was not there to be the X's and O's guys. He has an offensive coordinator. He has a defensive coordinator. He was there just to right the ship, to be the leader of men. And I think that's Antonio Pierce's role, to be honest. Fitz says, a slim chance for the Bears, but they are a great landing spot for him. If he was ever going to coach, the Bears is now. I would agree, Fitz. I think Jim Harbaugh to the Bears would, in theory, be a good fit. But is Ryan Poles and Jim Harbaugh going to coexist? That's the reason why he left San Francisco, was because he could not coexist with the general manager. I feel like Jim Harbaugh is a guy that kind of has to have a general manager and a head coaching role now, right? He has to have that Bill Belichick type of power. It is what it is. Are you sniffing glue, Buck? Oh my God. What don't you agree with? That's a smoke screen. And then Jim says, nobody gives a shit about Chicago. Not even the people there. That is true. Combs and Fitz don't even live in Chicago. They live in, like, Indiana. I'm kidding. Combs actually does live in Chicago. Not in, like, the bad part. It's kind of a nice little neighborhood. I don't know. What if the frogs all of a sudden had wings? Do you think they're still bump their ass when they hop? Listen, if frogs had wings, would we have frog wings instead of frog legs? Good question. Good question. We got a lot of comments, guys. You guys are doing good tonight. Doing good. But the last overreaction of the day before we wrap up the show here, CMC. We have to talk about the infamous Christian McCaffrey and the injury-prone man himself. Christian McCaffrey will officially miss Week 18 with a calf strain. Coaches and staffers say that it is not severe, it is just being precautious. However, we have heard this before. We heard this with Joe Burrow back in June or July when he had his, quote, calf strain. And he didn't even play a snap of football until the first week of the season, and he still wasn't very, very good. So I got to look at how long does a calf strain take to heal. 6 weeks is the recovery time. 6 weeks. So, guys, is it an overreaction or an underreaction that Christian McCaffrey's calf strain could hinder the San Francisco 49ers playoff run? We have spoke on this show many times in length of who the true MVP of the league is. And CMC's name gets brought up week after week, show after show, day after day. And I said it myself. I think CMC is a very, very talented running back. I think CMC is great fit for the San Francisco 49ers. However, it is a system running game that the San Francisco 49ers have. But with that being said, CMC has been healthy most of the season. I think he was injured his ribs a couple games when they were on the 3-game losing streak. I don't think he missed any games in that particular time. I can't remember for sure. But this calf strain is very, very concerning. Guys, this is not an overreaction. If it is truly a calf strain, you can start to feel better in a couple days, right? You can start to feel better in a week, and then you get out and run and you re-aggravate it. What is so hard about sprained ankles and calf strains and strained hammies is like, once you start to feel a little bit better, oh, I can walk. Let me run. Oh, crap, I sprained it again, right? I re-aggravated it. That's why these strains and stuff like that take so long to heal. Guys, the San Francisco 49ers need to be worried about this. 49ers fans, you guys need to be worried about this. Guys, this is not an overreaction. This is not an overreaction at all. CMC's calf strain injury could be the downfall of the San Francisco 49ers this playoff season. If he does not fully heal, he has 2 weeks to heal, week 18 and a first round bye, and they could potentially be playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Eagles or some other team, right? What has been the biggest Achilles heel for the San Francisco 49ers all season long is they're literally one injury away of not being a very good team. Trent Williams goes down, 3-game losing streak. Deebo Samuels goes down. They lose that game, right? CMC gets injured in a game. I think it was against the Vikings. They lose that game, right? They lose any one of their core guys, Deebo, Trent Williams, Brock Purdy, CMC, George Kittle. They are done. Guys, do not sleep on this injury. Do not just glaze over it. Oh, he's just a week 18 scratch, whatever. We're not playing for anything. Screw it, right? This is a calf strain. A calf strain. This is the same calf strain that it took Joe Burrow 3 months to heal from. From training camp into their bye week, Joe Burrow was a shell of himself. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals the first 5 weeks of the season. Joe Burrow sucked. He couldn't move at all. And then you want Christian McCaffrey with the calf strain to run the ball? Slow it down, baby. Scroll back up in the comments here. John People says he is the MVP. No question about it. He is the MVP. And then Lamont Brown says, nah, he quit on his team in college. Lamar Jackson is a true MVP of the league, period. This year, Lamar Jackson is the MVP. I will give you that. John says CMC will play in the playoffs. They have too much money invested in him for not to play. Of course he's going to play. It is not a question of if he is going to play or not. It's a question of how healthy that calf is. How severe that calf strain is. That's a real question. If that calf strain truly is a calf strain, it's going to take 6 weeks to heal. Minimum 6 weeks to heal. Maybe you can go to Aaron Rodgers' doctor and they can drill into the bone and put a hinge in there and make it. I don't know. Caroline says it's an overreaction. I think they could still go through the playoffs. Yes. Because I agree with you to an extent, because I do think the San Francisco 49ers is a very system-friendly for quarterbacks and running backs, right? It's a very system-oriented type of thing. You can plug and play any quarterback in the San Francisco 49ers offense right now. They're going to have the Brock Purdy success, i.e. Sam Darnold, right? Now, the running back situation in San Francisco, they do still have Elijah Mitchell. Well, he's a six round pick back in 2021. So far this season, he has 17 attempts on 80 yards. Right? It's been CMC or bust. If let's just play devil's advocate here, right? Let's CMC is hobbled by that calf, right? Let's say he plays the first quarter in, he's out for the rest of the game. This is what's going to happen. The San Francisco 49ers are going to put Deebo Samuel in the backfield. Yes, Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver. Before CMC was there, he was in the backfield a lot. When they do that, it takes away their ability to pass the ball effectively, because now you're just down to Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and let's look at the roster here. Chris Conley. Maybe Ray McCloud could be come back from IR, but I doubt it. The 49ers are injury ways, guys. So it's Lamar all day, MVP. Honestly, I could care less. But if CMC ain't playing, the whole team attitude changes and they're not the same team. Jim, you're right. Not only does the running game change, the passing game changes, this changes. It is a very discombobulated team at the right. They are an injury away. Lamont says, and he goes 60 yards in those 3 games they lost. 3 straight. How is that a MVP? We're not debating MVP right now. We can talk about that tomorrow. We're talking strictly CMC. We'll talk about the MVP talk later this week. We have plenty of time to talk about it. But John says if CMC doesn't play, San Francisco is a one and done. Ugh. Let me ask you guys this question. Are they one and done if CMC doesn't play? I think they are. I think they are, because they would have to play a team. Let's say the Philadelphia Eagles can win a first-round game. They would have to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defense at that particular point has been bad, but I think they got to get better at some point, right? Who else is in the NFC playoffs that they could potentially play? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they would beat the Buccaneers. See here, the Rams. Wouldn't that be something? People been giving me shit about the 49ers losing to the Rams twice in a season. I said it. They'll lose week 18, and then they'll probably lose in the playoffs. If CMC doesn't play and the Rams beat the Detroit Lions in the first round, the Rams 49ers are playing in the playoffs, and they're going to lose again. Ugh. Lamont says, what type of team are the Ravens if Lamar doesn't play? They are a below average team. We've talked about this, Lamont. We talked about it yesterday. That's why I said Lamar Jackson is the MVP for his team this season. I said it. A good defense stops them, period, as in the 49ers. Yes. Jim also says, plus, I don't believe the CMC injury is real. It's a plot to get rest. Why do you need a plot to get rest? Just be like, look, my man's inactive. It doesn't matter. The NFL is not like the NBA. I believe in the NBA, if you sit a star player for rest purposes, right, you get fined. The NFL, they want the best product on the field once the playoffs start. They don't care if you rest your guy. Get him out of here. Right? Get him out of here. Damn, one player hurt, not a QB, and the whole team implodes. Not an MVP on that team, then a bunch of front runners. Hang on, Lamont. You just gave yourself a double negative. Double negative there. You've been talking shit about CMC, with rightfully so. Bumped your boy Lamar Jackson up, right? But isn't this a true definition of a MVP? If you go down, your team sucks. Most valuable player on that team is CMC. 100%. The most valuable player on the San Francisco 49ers is CMC. If he gets hurt, the team implodes. That's the definition of a freaking MVP. What do you want? Yes, Lamar Jackson has had a spectacular season. Yes, he has learned how to throw the ball very effectively. Yes, the play calling has been bar none. But if the Lamar Jackson does not play with the Baltimore Ravens, they are still a above 500 team. That defense is playing lights freaking out. That defense is amazing. Huntley is a really good backup. He can come in there and maintain the system. Last season, I said it. Huntley was a better fit for the Baltimore Ravens than Lamar Jackson last season. Granted, I think he only won 1 out of his 4 games, but I thought he was a better fit. The defense, the team looked better. My man got me fired up. CMC is a definition of the MVP. Damn, one player hurt, not a quarterback, and the whole team implodes. Not an MVP on a team that's a bunch of front runners. That is a definition of a freaking MVP, Lamont. That is a freaking definition of an MVP. Come on, man. You're better than that. Caroline says, yeah, they probably would be a one and done if CMC doesn't play. And then John says, if Lamar goes down, so do the Ravens. This year, yes. As of right now, yes. If Lamar Jackson goes down in the playoffs, the Baltimore Ravens probably can't hang. It's a very competitive game because that defense is amazing. But it is what it is. But guys, that is going to be it for the show today. Man, you guys get me fired up, and my wife told me to calm down over there. She said, slow it down, baby. But guys, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, live, raw, uncut, 10 a.m. East Coast time. And my boy Hoffy makes his infamous return back from having a baby. Man, that baby's like damn near 2 weeks old now. Sign that boy up. He's like 13 pounds, 25 inches. Hoffy, I don't think you're the poppy bubby. See you guys tomorrow. You're moving the goalpost again. I'm not moving the goalpost. Never move those goalposts. See you guys tomorrow. We out.